Alrighty, so listen, we're going to be going over a video here after this intro, and the video that we're going to be watching today is going to be on how to properly sheet a wall, an exterior wall. And the sheeting that we're using is 1/2 inch OSB. It's not plywood, and its main purpose is going to be to hold the wall square, and it's also going to be used as a nailer for our outside, which is going to be vinyl siding, to go onto it. So we're going to go over how to properly sheet a wall in this video. It's a little bit long, but I went over things pretty in depth. So watch it, answer the questionnaire. We're going to be in great shape. See you soon. So we're getting ready to put some sheeting on this wall. But before we put some sheeting on this wall, there's two things that we always need to make sure is good. Number one is that we have a good straight bottom plate. And number two is going to be, after we have a nice straight bottom plate, then we're going to go from corner here to corner down there. Same thing from down there to up here. And we're going to make sure that our corner to corner measurement is identical. That means we have a nice square wall. It's very, very, very important that everything is 100% square or within a 1/16. We're going to put it right on the money. So normally if we were building a house on like a piece of subfloor rather than a cement pad like this, what we would do is we'd snap a line right down on the subfloor, and then we'd take our bottom plate right here and we'd tack it down to the floor on the line, give it a look-see again, or when we're done, and be in good shape. Now, I've got this wall pretty darn close. If we take a look down through here, this is tough because of the way the camera is, but this is pretty darn straight. But pretty darn straight and 100% straight are a different ball game. So what I did was I took a 8D, put it on a small angle. It's also angled in this direction. And I took my chalk box line and I put it right on this. And what I'm going to make sure is that my line is right over top of this edge right here. So I'm going to take this, and if you notice my thumb right here, I'm just going to move it so it's right over that edge. All right, so that's, take note, right over that edge. We're going to come down here and we're going to do the same thing. So I have an 8D right here as well, and if we take a look, our line is a little bit to the inside. So we're going to give her a couple of love taps here, and look at that, she's right on the money. Now guess what? All I have to do is come here and sight down my line and make sure that the inside of my plate is right on that line. In any spot that it's not, I'm just going to give it a couple little love taps to get it good. So I'm going to show you what it looks like after we do that, and then we're going to go over how to put some sheeting on this after we square it. Alright, so we have our bottom plate here, nice and straightened up with our chalk line. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go corner to corner. Now he's holding me at the very top corner of his top plate, which is going to be right here where my finger is. And we're going to do the same thing when we come down here, and I'm going to take a look. He's holding me at the 1 foot mark. That's called burning a foot. Rather than holding it right on the very edge of the tape where we don't know exactly where it might be, we're going to go to the 1 foot mark, and we're going to take a measurement here. Yeah, let's see where we're at. So we are at 31 foot 10 1/4. So 31, 10 1/4. So now what he's going to do is he's going to come over here and he's going to hold me at the same spot right there. And I'm going to go down this way. Go ahead. And let's see, we're at 31. We're at 31, 9 1/4. So we are off by, or 31, 9 3/8. So we're off by 7/8 of an inch. And that means that the wall up there wants to go that way 7/16. All right, because by going 7/16 that way, that measurement's going to decrease and that measurement's going to increase, both by 7/16. 7/16 plus 7/16 is 7/8, and that's what we're off by. So hold me down there. And since we are at 31, 9 3/8, we're going to go 7/16 plus that, So that would be, let's see, 6/16 plus 7/16 is going to be 13/16. So we're going to be in between this 3/4 and this 7/8 line. So we're going to have you lightly tap that right there with your foot.
You got to move that 2x4.
I'm good.
You got room?
Yeah, I got a 1/4 inch. I'm not moving that much.
Nice and easy. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I'm going to put my knee on this. All right, go ahead and give her a love tap. Keep going. One more. Hang on. You on the 1 foot mark?
Yeah.
So we are at 31 foot. Yeah, it looks like 13/16, so right in between the 3/4 and the 7/8. And we're going to double check the measurement. We're going to have him go down there. And he's going to hold us at that 1 foot mark. And I believe we were looking for 31/9 and 7/16. So we're at 31/9 and 7/16. So this wall is now officially square. We're also going to double check to make sure that our wall plate remains straight. We're going to double check that here in a minute. And then we're going to go over how to put some sheeting on this. All right, so we're getting ready to put some sheeting on this wall. It's very important that we don't move the wall. We're going to be nice and careful with the sheeting. The reason why we have to be so careful with this wall is because there's nothing holding the bottom straight or down, because there's nothing to nail to. All right, and there's nothing holding it square other than gravity. But as long as we don't bang on this wall too hard, we're going to be in great shape. Now let's go over some stuff here. I'm going to take my sheeting in like this. Come down here to this end. Now, if you guys remember, when we started our layout, we started down here on the front, and we pulled 15 1/4 and goes, all right? Because it's 16 inches on center. That means that we want this 8-foot board, 8 foot in inches is 96 inches, and 96 is divisible by 16. All right, that's why it's a 16-inch center. Same thing like a 2 foot on center if we did a 19-2 layout. But since it's on a 16 inches, we're gonna take this piece of sheeting right here. We're gonna go right to this end. Let's see here, move it down a smidgen. And move it in a little bit. We're right on that edge. And when we come down here, look at that. We're able to break right on the center of this stud. And that's why we do that 16 inches on center. Now, this looks like it's dead nuts in the middle. We're going to double check down here, make sure that we're right on our edge. If you take a look at this, we are. Now, we're going to put a nail right here, but we're going to be very careful because we don't want this wall to move. We're going to keep it flush on this edge and flush on this edge with an 8D nail. So I'm kneeling on the wall so it doesn't move. I'm flush. I'm flush. I'm just going to tack it for right now. I'm also going to come down here and I'm going to put a tack right here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a sheet of plywood. I'm going to lay this down, and since I don't want my wall to move, I'm going to carefully lay it down. Now, if I was nailed to the floor, I could drop this sucker right down and go. Nice and careful, walking gently, come down here, same thing. We're just going to tack it for right now, just in case we run into any issues. So I want to come down a smidgen. So I took my weight off the board. Tack. tack.
Got a little extra blue on that one.
Nice and gently. Everything down. Now, if we take a look at this piece of plywood right here, somebody snuck this one here into the pile. And this has got a big old chunk from where somebody hit it with a forklift at one point. So this piece of plywood might be good for us to use later on for something else like a header. To keep this video shorter, I'm just going to show you guys how, look, every time this plywood's breaking, it's breaking right on the middle of a stud. And that's the whole way down through. Now we are going to eventually have to cut a piece of plywood for the end here. It's going to be at 64 inches. So we'll go over that in a few minutes. Right. So we've got our first 3 sheets on right here. The next thing that we're going to do is we've got the bottom all tacked. The bottom's looking good. I double checked. I took my my eye and I sighted right down the bottom right here. And this sucker is still maintaining a nice straight edge. But I want to get my tops of my studs right here on the 16 inches on center as well. And the reason for that is this wall's pretty darn long, all right, and any little bit that we can do to make it good going down the line here, we're gonna be in great shape. So I just sighted this stud, and I'm showing that the stud's out a little bit right here. And we're gonna take a look, and sure enough, I'm hanging past the edge of my plywood right here by about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just gonna come over here, flush it up, put a tack on it, give her a look-see gander. Yes, sir, she is straight. I'm showing right about here that I'm out maybe by a 32nd or a 16th, but we can fix that a little bit later as we come through. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take our tape measure, and we're going to want to hook it on like this, and we're going to want all of our studs right here on this edge to be at 15 1/4. And if we take a look, I am. Come down here, put my nail right on the 16, which is 32. And I'm showing, go this way a smidgen. And we're just gonna run this the whole way down. Now if we take a look right here, look at this stud. This one's bowed pretty good. We're at 46 7/8, and we want this particular one to be at 47 1/4. So we're gonna put our nail right on the 16 mark, and we're going to come over here and we're going to give her some loving. And you can now tell that we're on our 47 1/4. We're going to do this entire way down the wall length. No reason to show you every single one, but you get the general gist of what we're going to do going down the wall length. So we got our first row of sheeting on. We're hand nailing it with some 8Ds. And we're going to cut this piece of plywood here for the end. And what we're going to do is, you're going to notice I have my chalk line right on the edge. I actually made a pencil line here. We're going to put our chalk line on this right here. And rather than cutting it right where this stud is, we're going to snap a line all the way from here to our top, because that straight line's not going to lie. And then we're going to cut this right on that line. So we're going to put this right here. Run this all the way out to here. If you take note, I'm going to hold this right here on this edge, and now I'm going to snap this line. So I just snapped it. I'm going to take this off, and we're going to see that our line is right here. So, as luck would have it, this happens to be a perfectly straight stud. We are right on our line. But what we would do at this point here is we'd take an 8 and we go ahead. We know that this is perfectly straight because our line doesn't lie, and we'd nail this right here. I'm going to show you how to cut this in 1 second. Put this nail in real quick. The nice part is we know exactly where our stud needs to be because of our snap line. And we're going to hit this in. next thing that we're going to do is we're going to wrap up our chalk line. And we're going to cut this. Now I personally like to cut this right where she lays. And I'm going to take my saw right here and I'm going to set the depth. I set the depth by loosening this handle, bringing this over, putting our plate down, and we're going to put our saw right there. That looks nice, and I'm going to tighten up this handle right over here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this right down this line. Put my glasses on. There, and boy, she's a beauty. Not overhanging in any spots. Did a real nice job. All right, so we got our bottom row already on. And now what we're going to do is we're going to grab some more sheets of plywood here, or OSB, I should say. And we're going to continue to put these on. We double checked our wall measurement for square, and we found out that the wall moved a smidgen. So we were able to re-square it back up. Be in great shape. Now that we have the wall pretty darn close to tightened up, we can now put our next sheet of plywood on. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here. I'm right on my spot. I'm going to take my foot, and you see how my foot just sucked that right up tight like so? We'll be in great shape. Now the one final thing we're going to do before we put the sheet on is we're going to measure and make sure that from out here to here is 4 foot. And the reason we want that is because 4 foot is a half of a sheet of plywood. So we're right on 4 foot right here if we take a look. And the one final thing is we're going to space this out by using another 8. Got her on our 4 foot. Now it went down a little bit there. And we'll come down here. And we're going to do the same thing. Now, when we look at this right here, while I have this tacked, I can see that I'm not breaking good. So we're going to go through and we're going to take a look where we went off a smidgen right here and show you what we're going to fix here in a minute. I laid on that second sheet. We noticed that it wasn't breaking. It breaks really good on this 4 foot right here. And for some reason it wasn't breaking at all down there. So what we had to do is we came back through and I found that where I stopped nailing my centers on 48 inches, we wanted our line to be 3/4 of an inch before the 16. So our stud right here should be at 47 1/4 since it was 48. This one here should have been at 63 1/4 since it's 64. But if you take a look, what happened was they were nailed on the 3/4 of an inch line rather than 3/4 of an inch before. And what had happened was our wall, every single stud, almost all the way down was off. And I had checked the square on the wall again, and I had noticed that the wall was off by 1/2 of an inch. And I thought that we banged it around a little bit, but we didn't. What actually happened was, since we were off by 1/2 of an inch right here, it had taken the wall and moved it a 1/2 of an inch out. So rather than just going with it, unfortunately what we had to do is we stood the wall up and we banged off the nails starting from here and about another 3/4 of the way down the wall right there. We had to cut off all of our 8s that we put in here. We were able to salvage the wood, which was good. The good news is, even if we had to get rid of it at this point here, it's only 3 sheets. It's not the end of the world. It's just more of a hassle. But it's easier to fix the problem and go through. So we're going to go over this once more. We're going to go down through here. So all these black lines are really close to a 16, but we really can't rely on these. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these studs right here, and we're going to put them exactly where they belong. So this one here, we want to be at 63 1/4, which it is. And I did confirm that our bottom plate was still straight. That was my biggest concern after banging this thing around, was that it wasn't straight. And we double checked this for square, and we're in great shape. We're at 79 1/4, which is 3/4 of an inch before. That's golden, come down here, and we can tell that this thing here was off. Now we have, look at that, 8 foot right at our break, 95 1/4. Don't want to use that big nail. We'll come over here, and since this is a seam, we have to do both sides of the seam like this. So we're going to put our nails on a slight angle, and we're going to go about the thickness of the head of the hammer across from one another. Nice and good there. And we're going to repeat this process going down the same way. I'm not going to show you how to do it, but I am going to physically do it on this one here because we're trying to build, not demolish. Stay tuned. So we're going to put the top sheet on the wall up here, and it calls for a total length right here of 25 1/4. We have an 1/8 of an inch gap here, and we want to keep it below the top an 1/8 of an inch so we don't have it messing with our trusses later on. So I cut it at 25 inches, measured it there, measured it here, 25 inches. We're snapped the line. Now we're going to go ahead and cut it so we can put this bad boy here in. Take our circular saw. Now that we have that there off,
I think that's what that was originally, right down wall.
we're going to see the plywood here. Put it right down in. We're going to keep it off our bottom here by 1/8 of an inch. And everything up there looks pretty good. They're going to space that an 1/8. We're going to continue right on down through here. So as you guys can tell by the video that we just finished up, what goes into properly sheeting a wall is going to be maintaining a nice straight bottom edge. That's an absolute must. And then also keeping it square, which we did by going from corner to corner and making that number exactly the same. You also saw in there that when we were straightening up those studs on the wall, why it's important to maintain your layout. In other words, we started by hooking our tape on the one end of the wall once we got that one straight, and then we pulled our tape measure. We went all the way down the wall, and we wanted the center of the stud to be at every 16 inches, or we wanted the side of the stud to be 3/4 of an inch before the 16. So it would be 15 1/4, 31 1/4, 47 1/4. All right, all of those are 3/4 of an inch before your 16. That's where they got a little bit off when I kind of stopped videotaping. I let some of the helpers there try to keep those good. They got off, and by getting off 1/2 of an inch on each one, each stud wound up being kind of bowed like this, and in turn it pushed the wall 1/2 of an inch out of square. So I thought it was a little bit odd that it was out of square once we double checked it when it was tacked, but sure enough, as soon as we started putting on that second layer of sheeting, we noticed right away, oh man, this isn't breaking good. Let's figure out where we went wrong. Took us 30 seconds to figure out what went wrong. Probably took us 30 minutes to fix it. The good news is we caught it before we put a lot of sheets down, and we were able to salvage everything. Mistakes happen, especially with people that don't do it that often. They're learning mistakes. We fixed it. We were in great shape. This video is another decently long one for you guys. I think I went over stuff maybe a little bit too much in depth and talked a lot about it. But regardless, in the next video we're going to show you, we're going to start on our second wall. And you're going to notice that we're going to be putting in some windows and a man door, and those are going to require a header above the windows and door, and your windows are going to need a sill plate underneath. So we're going to show you how to mark all that out and make the headers in the next video. So talk to you guys soon. Stay safe.